Welcome to the Team Engagement Podcast, where leaders of teams share their insights. Brought to you by Blue Sky Business Consulting. We discuss 5 questions in about 15 minutes.
Hi again, everyone. I'm very glad you chose to join us today for this episode of the Team Engagement Podcast. And I'm very excited to welcome Boyd Petersen. He is the founder and CEO of BP Media out of South Jordan, Utah. Boyd, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. What would you like the audience to know about BP Media?
Well, thank you very much, Sean. It was great for you to invite me on. BP Media is a digital agency. What we do is we really just simply go after the digital stuff to get people so that they can get more traffic to their website. And that could be social media, it's paid advertising, it's all kinds of different things. But there's even things that you can do for yourself rather than having to pay for it. So that's what we do.
Oh, I like that because that helps people to do things on their own and not always having to fork it out. So I like that. That's great.
Yeah, the key is there's a lot of times when somebody's starting out a business, they have more time and less money. And so we have put together some tools and trainings and things like that so that they can get in and get going and it doesn't cost them very much at all. And then as they get to the point where they are running out of time and have more money, then they can talk to us about doing it for them or with them.
I like that because I often tell clients you've got 2 choices. You can do it yourself or you can delegate it or pay for it out. And so you got to kind of figure out where that critical mass is. And so I like how you approach it. I like that.
Yep.
All right. Well, let's get started with our questions then, Boyd. The first question I always ask guests, as you've been building your business, what's a challenge that you've overcome that you're especially proud of?
Well, it's been very interesting because I started the agency inside of a newspaper. And so I started it there because I could see with the newspapers that we were running that, somebody's going to say, I wanted to try this digital marketing stuff. So I'm going to stop advertising with you. And I wanted to be able to say, I have a solution for that too, and I can help you. And it worked out really well for a lot of my clients to do that. In fact, we ended up doing lots of things together instead of just 1 or 2 things. So it worked out good. And that was an overcoming thing because, digital is where most of the attention is being given. But on the other hand, some of that, like newspapers and television and radio, are still very viable, just not as strong as they used to be.
Well, it's good foresight on your part to foresee that there is going to be some changes and that it would be best to try and help your clients in a different way. So I like that.
Yes.
Very good. Well, question number 2, how can leaders help nurture or foster creativity within their team?
Well, that's a good one. There's a difference between managers and leaders, and I'm sure you've covered that many times on this show because, that's what this is about. I used to teach a group of what were trying to be leaders, but they were really much more managers. And as I worked with them, I talked to them about how, as a leader, it's about getting people to do things with you. And it is not so much, I'm going to manage your time, because that's a manager. I'm going to make sure that you're doing what you need to do. Well, a leader says, let's get this done together. And that was one of the big things that I taught. It was a big national company. I was teaching their coaches that were over groups of call centers. And it was funny. I'd have some that would pay attention and some that wouldn't. The ones that wouldn't remained managers. They could never figure it out. And then they were losing between 20 and 30% every month of their employees, where the ones who became leaders would only lose 1 every 6 or 8 months. And that was a big deal. And people were going, how come they're doing so well and these aren't? Because they listened, because they implement. And that's the key. You got to have them so they'll listen and implement.
I like that. And I like that you highlighted the difference between a manager and a leader, because there is a very distinct difference. And I like your sense of going and, hey, work with me on this. That's what a leader says. I love that.
Right.
I love that. Question number 3, how can leaders help the team members to trust each other?
Oh, this is one that I love to work with this group that I was just talking about. And it's all about getting everybody together and saying, hey, what kind of problems do you have? And everybody kind of helping them. You get the whole team together And you've got to get it so that they trust a little bit. But once they trust a little bit and someone says, ooh, I tried this, or I had that same problem, I don't know what to do either. And pretty soon everybody's pulling together instead of just simply a one-off, I'm going to do better than you. And that's the key, is make it so that it's a team, not a one-off, one person who's really the superstar for everybody. You know, it's kind of like a basketball team. I got to interview one of the coaches for the Jazz at one time, and it was kind of interesting what he said. He says, you know, there are times when we have that showboater, and we can't get the team to come together because he's hogging the ball, he's doing things. Says, and so I trade him. And he says, but if I can get people to be team players, we become a winning team. And that's the key.
Yep.
That's what it is in business too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you have to have the team work together as a team, and they have to be able to trust each other in order to do that. I love that.
And be able to hear from each other. Hey, did you know that you're as you're about to pass the ball, people are seeing that, and so they're trying to block you. And you know, it's a team effort of, hey, let's improve each other.
Right. I like that. Question number 4. As you have maybe in recent experience, or maybe even a little bit longer, is there an experience that you'd like to share where it might have been perceived as a failure, but you turned it into a win?
Oh, well, there's been a lot of those kind of things. You know, when I first bought the newspapers, you know, we had just one newspaper. We had a circulation of about 17,000. And I started doing some things to add to it. And then I started getting asked to come to areas. And, you know, so the newspapers were in the south end of Salt Lake Valley. And so we had built up a good, strong following in 3 communities. And a 4th community came and they said, you know, we want you to bring it to us as well, you know, expand one more. And we kept looking at it, and this one city was as big as the other 3 combined. And they were going through different challenges. And I kept looking at it and going, yeah, I don't know, you know, they're going to probably just really overcome everybody else. And their challenges are much bigger. And it's not going to mean as much to some of these others. So we ended up, as we got working with it, and I was working with the chamber and the city and everyone, we decided, let's put together a new paper and let's just do that for your community. And we'll call it the West Jordan Journal. And they're, oh, you do that? Yeah, yeah. And it was interesting as we started to build that up. It then attracted other cities and said, we want you to do that here too. And they had seen what we were looking at. And sometimes it made sense to put 2 communities together or 3 communities together. And other times it was just one. And that's what we were able to build our success off of when we were building the newspapers. And so when we started, we had 1 newspaper. When we sold it, we had 14. And we actually had the largest circulation of all of the newspapers in the state. And wow. In fact, if you took the 4 dailies, put their circulation together, that equaled what we were doing.
Wow.
So we were, you know, but we had 14 papers, and I mean, they're all going different directions and different times. It was fun.
Oh, that's great. Congratulations on that success. That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Well, hey, last question. Tell us a little bit about your first job.
My first job. Okay. Well, my first job was my own. I was when I was a Boy Scout, I needed to raise some money for camp. My dad and mom felt like, hey, if you're going to go to camp, you need to raise your own money. And I wanted to raise my own money anyway, so I could buy a new bicycle or, you know, different things. So my first job was going out selling greeting cards door to door, boxes of greeting cards. And I did that for about 3 or 4 years and really did well, won several awards for it. And you know, I remember the truck would pull up and say, I've got a pallet of things, and I'm going, I don't have a way of getting a pallet off of your truck. So we'd unload it a case at a time. And, and here I am 12, 13 years old doing that. And my dad let me put them in the garage, and within a few days, they were all gone because we got them out. But that was my first job.
So you were a salesman at a young age already.
Yeah, I was. And I had some really good people who said, you know what? I love these cards. I'll take them every time you have some. And so we did, Christmas cards, all occasion cards, birthday cards. They were all over the place.
Oh, that's great. I love that. Well, Boyd, thank you so much for being on the show today. I really appreciate it. How can people find you?
Well, there's a few different ways they can find me. My website is BP Media, which stands for Big Picture Media, which is the actual company name. And so bpmedia.com. From there, you can go to all kinds of different areas. If you want to look at more about social media, we have it there. If you want to look at more about the digital marketing or website design, or I have a page on there that is all about getting things for your business that, some of them are free, some of them are nominal cost. That's a great one. That's called resources on there. And then if they want to call me, my phone number's on there, or they can call me directly at 801-580-3310. But if you go to the website, I actually have on there that you can set up a 30 or a 60-minute Zoom or call if that's what they'd like. And you can schedule it right there on my website. And it's free for the first hour. So I'm glad to help out people when my website, it's not producing, and I'm looking at it going, I can see why. Yeah. Or I'll say, oh my gosh, that's a really good website. You're just not getting the traffic to it. And that's the thing. I can look at it, and my background is when I was doing the newspaper, I went back to school, and I became a marketing. My degree ended up being in marketing, and so that's what I can do best on any TV on down. So
fantastic.
Business cards, I can help you with that.
All right. Well, thank you very much for sharing that information. And thanks again for being on the show today. And I wish everybody a great day. And thanks again for listening. We really appreciate it. And thanks so much.
This is Sean Richards with the Team Engagement Podcast, where leaders of teams share their insights. For more ideas, go to teamengagementpodcast.com. We also invite you to follow or subscribe to our podcast wherever you may be listening or watching. Is your business thriving? Go to tbs-score.com to find out. Thanks for joining us today. Have a great day.